You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with a guest. His name is James Hudson.
That's me.
So, James, yeah, that is you, James. Tell me a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Yeah, so my name's James, first of all. I live in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which if you are unfamiliar with it as a city, nobody blames you. It's not super notable, but I've got friends here, so that's a reason to stay. But yeah, I host a horror movie podcast and YouTube channel. And I basically, really, I lost my job at the beginning of the year and didn't really know what to do with a little bit of that extra time I had on my hands. So I started the podcast and just forced some of my friends to be on too. And we watch scary movies and we talk about them, and it's pretty fun. And that's kind of what I've been up to for the last few months.
Have you been living off like podcasting?
Oh, absolutely not. I wish. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
It'd be awesome just to have a podcast about horror movies. I mean, there's so many good ones out there.
Yeah.
What's your favorite
No.
all-time horror movie?
Oh, all time. If you're just going to put me on the spot like that, I have to go with Scream. And it's probably not even because it's the best. It's just because as a 90s kid, that was just so important for me growing up. So it's got to be Scream.
Now, were you like me? Did you watch the movies even though you weren't allowed to watch them because it would give you nightmares?
Well, I had kind of I have kind of an interesting childhood, I guess. Early on, I was actually adopted by my grandparents from birth because my mom had me when she was 16, and so they had me at my parents, quote unquote, who adopted me, were way older than anybody else my age, and they had already had 4 or 5 kids and sent them off out of the house, and they were pretty much over the whole like raising children thing. So I basically grew up on TV and movies. That was TV was my babysitter. Nickelodeon was my babysitter. And so yeah, they didn't really put a lot of control over any of that stuff. So I would very easily be able to watch things that most kids my age wouldn't watch. I was actually the kid who at like sleepover birthdays and stuff, I would be the one who snuck in like the R-rated movies because my parents just didn't care.
Yeah, it was the whole the only thing I think my parents really ever cared to the point where it was when I was little, they were watching Friday the 13th, and they were like, you're going to watch it, you're going to get nightmares. So I got sent to bed, but, just like little kids do, they don't actually go to bed. They hide around the corner.
Oh,
and
no,
watch it
absolutely.
So I watched it. Next thing I know, I was afraid to go to sleep. They're like, why are you afraid? I'm like, someone's going to kill me. When I step off this bed right now, someone is going to take me under this bed, chop me up, and eat me. Gonna happen. They're like, you're 4 years old. What are you talking about? I'm like, it's gonna happen. You just don't know. Tomorrow you're gonna wake up. I'm not gonna be there. And I had a Chucky doll, okay, before I knew what Chucky was.
Man.
And then I saw the Chucky movie. I was like, get this the fuck out of my room,
Nope,
please.
get it out. Okay, good. I'm glad you said fuck. Now I don't have to worry about censoring myself.
All right. Okay. I need to start putting that like in the disclaimer before when I get people on, like, hey,
No, that's good. That's just super helpful to me because I almost said fuck earlier, and then I was able to stop myself because I was trying to be nice.
My virgin ears. Oh no, it's crazy because like a lot of people look at like language and things of that sort of like cuss words not a bad thing to do. It's just something that relieves a little bit of micro stress. If you honestly do it more in your everyday life, you're going to be less stressed out.
It's so true. I totally agree with that.
That's why it's really, really weird that the fact that they can show like, what is it? It's a guy kissing a guy on TV, but they can't show a girl and a girl kissing on a TV.
Yeah, it's just
that changes the rating of the movie.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And PG-13, you're allowed to have one F-bomb. Any more than that, it becomes R.
That's so weird. You think honestly, like, the kid probably hears it when he's 7 years old. I don't think he needs to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always grew up in at least small sized cities, so never really small towns. So I grew up a lot on the East Coast. I live in Indiana now, but I grew up on the East Coast in like Virginia Beach and Norfolk. And I mean, yeah, I mean, I was in inner city schools. Like I learned most of my adult language and adult situations from the bus ride.
Yeah, well, those are formative moments when you're a kid. First of all, I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
somebody heard something from their parents. Next thing you know, they're saying it on the bus, and the next thing you know, you're like, "Oh my god, I got all this new information in my head." I actually remember a time I convinced my parents to let me cuss when I was 14 years old.
Oh wow.
I,
See,
I,
that's what's interesting about kind of my my journey growing up is by the like so I could pretty much do almost anything that I wanted. But then whenever I got to like middle school, like 13 or so, my parents started going to church really hard. So all of a sudden we were like a Christian family. And so things that my parents didn't care about before, now all of a sudden they care about. So like no swearing and not watching rated R movies in the house and stuff like that. It was really strange because it almost was reversed for me. Like they didn't care if I said a bad word when I was 10, but all of a sudden when I'm 15, now it's a problem.
I, well, that's like a whole structure thing too, with like your family trying to structure and instill goodness into you. But I'm like, it's not bad to cuss, you know.
Right.
My cousin is like 7, 8 years old, and he just cusses at the dinner table. And like, I'm like, you're not gonna say something to him. Like if I was little, I'd be getting my ass kicked right now or thrown through a wall. And she looks at him, she's like, "What? No, he's fine. He hears it all the time." I'm like, when did that become a thing? When did that like
Yeah.
I nobody knows the amount of the strength it took for me to work up the courage to convince my parents to cuss. I worked it from the bullying angle. I was like, I'm getting cussed at in school, and it would be really easy if I could just cuss back at them. And like their only rule was you couldn't say the N word. But my brother is literally sitting
Okay.
there staring at me and looking at me like, did he just ask for permission to cuss at other people? And they gave it to him. I'm like, dude, I should have been a salesman or something because I was selling like this information that you were like, all right, deal.
Dude, that's incredible. I love that. So let me throw something at you. Like what I really like what you're doing with this podcast. I like how it's just sort of an open format and you're just talking to people that you've literally never talked to before. So I mean, our first interaction was you said, "Hey, do you want to be on my podcast where we just talk?" How the heck do you pull that off?
What do you mean? How do I pull it off? I just
Well,
do.
like for me, like we have guests on the show almost every single week, but like we're all like I got in real deep with like the Instagram horror community, and so like I know anybody that I ask, even if they are maybe a little different than me, or maybe we all have this shared common interest, and like for your show, it's just anything goes, and I feel like that's just like super ballsy.
It is ballsy. I do. I mean, I even post on Reddit too. You meet some weird ass people on Reddit. I try. I was gonna post on Craigslist, but I kind of steered away from it when I started seeing ads for people they'll literally come over to your house and punch you in the balls for like $100. And it wasn't even the fact that that was a thing. It was the fact that there's some dude out there that's going to pay somebody to punch him in. Like, there's literally, I showed my teacher my senior year of school. I was like, did you know there's an ad for people getting punched in the crotch on Craigslist? He's like, I don't believe you. I don't think people are that stupid. I pulled up a photo. It was a guy took a picture of his swollen nuts. It was like, after I had a great time with, and then tagged the person. And it was like,
Oh my god.
$200, but it was the best 200 I've ever spent in my life. My teacher just looked at me. He goes, "This is why I don't like computers in our class," and then walked away. I was like, it's a sad fact. There are some people out here that are a little bit weird. But to
Yeah,
answer your
that's nuts.
question, honestly, I just I'm just trying to hear everybody's thoughts and takes on stuff. I mean, we're all interested in something, right? Like you're
That's
interested
true.
in horror movies. A lot of people choose not to watch horror movies either because it's too scary, too graphic. You know, I've talked to people that hell, I know people that won't watch a horror movie because of the fact that it has demons in it. They think demons, anything with
Yep.
demons in it, it's too real for them. And I've
Hmm.
always had a fascination with horror movies. Hell, I'm excited. It's getting into October here soon, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
AMC's Fear Fest is coming up. Every
Let's
single day
go.
is gonna be like 12 things of Michael Myers, even though I stopped watching after like the first four.
Yeah, man. Spooky season is coming. It's exciting.
I think it's something about the air too. the
I know it
quality of it.
really is.
It
I wonder though, because I mean, our climates are similar. I truly wonder if people in other climates, so like if they live, in Florida or California or something like that, if it's different for them, because it is for me. Like you get one of those really cool evenings. We had our first one. Not yesterday, but the day before, where it was actually kind of cold when I woke up in the morning, and I'm like, "Oh man, spooky season's coming."
yeah,
I'm
well,
like, I wonder if that's
I walked
different for
outside
people other ways.
outside the house this morning. I was in a buttoned up work shirt, and
Yeah.
it's not a shirt. It's a shirt is a little bit revealing if you're not wearing an undershirt. And the first thing I did was I grabbed my hand and covered above my nipples because that little wind came through, and I was like, "Yep, got to put a jacket on."
Yeah.
But you feel that though, like it's the time the seasons are changing. The colors are gonna start turning to orange. Those beautiful things. I
Yeah.
find it really fascinating about a lot of people that come out about seeing ghosts and folklore types stuff that you hear like on the X Files or something. It
Mm,
it happens around the time of Halloween, and I'm like,
it
I think it's
does.
because the environment starts playing that factor.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. It definitely is a sort of just a psychological thing or a self fulfilling prophecy of it's spooky time, so spooky things happen, and yeah, I'm kind of okay with that. I really dig it.
So is Halloween, I'm guessing, probably your favorite holiday?
Absolutely favorite holiday. It has been ever since I was a kid. It was just one of those things. Like even as a kid, I was to this day I'm terrified of like haunted houses, not like true haunted houses, but like the event where like you go into a house or a business and it's like a haunted house. Um, so even when I was a kid, I hated shit like that. It just scared the hell out of me.
I don't.
But
I'm not allowed to go back to any haunted houses, sadly. But at least in my area, I had this one incident, and I told the guy, I was like, just don't touch me. They're not supposed to
yep,
touch you. They're not supposed to
right,
do that thing they sign up for, where they're able to. You can sign a slip. And this kid, I don't know if he knew me. I don't know. He had a
yeah,
mask on, was wearing like a ghillie suit, and he kept getting really close into my face. I was like, dude, I'm like, it's good. Just don't touch me. I don't care. I don't get scared that easy at all. Like I'll watch a movie, and my grown ass brother, like who's like 5 years older than me, will be watching it, and he'll be sitting there in the theater, like, like that one movie that came out, M. Night Shyamalan's movie. Crap, the one with the creepy grandparents.
what was that? The Visit or something like that?
Yeah, it was something weird. But
Yeah,
watching that, and then even watching Split, he was like a little bit freaked out. And like that was with my
yeah.
mom. That was everybody in the theater was all like like clenching the seat. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, this is the dumbest thing in the world. Like, why are people kind of scared of this? It's not that I don't get scared. I do get scared, but I get scared of irrational things. Like I'm not going to be
Sure.
able to find a bathroom in time if I have to shit. Like if I'm in the middle of this aisle in the movie theater right now, how many people am I going to be an inconvenience to if I have to get up to piss? That's
Oh
my
yeah.
fears. My buddy's like, dude, you have irrational fears. I'm like, you want me to go watch Avengers Endgame with you? That's a 3.5 hour movie.
Oh yeah.
Piss 4 times in that
You're
movie.
gonna
I'd
have to.
rather
You
wait.
have to.
Yeah, I'd rather wait till like it comes out on DVD. And he's like, "Well,
I
it's on
agree.
DVD now. Do you want to go watch it?" I'm like, "Nah, still, we're gonna have to pause it and get up, and I'm just gonna be an inconvenience." But like
Yeah.
when it comes to people scaring me in my house, like I'll come home like 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and they'll be hiding like in a room or something, and then someone will just jump out and go, "Ah!" I'm like, "What's up?" Like I'm
Right.
totally completely turned off to it because I guess it was the idea that monsters, all those things you see, werewolves, all these things that were created, they weren't. It's not something you can't create a new face. You can't create an image.
Yeah.
Anything you see in your dream that like you, it's a matchup of a bunch of different people and a bunch of different things like you've seen. So when you see a werewolf, that wasn't just someone that created a werewolf. That was something that someone saw a bunch of different things that chalked up into that werewolf, whether it was like a bunch of
Right.
people,
Right.
a bunch of animals, a bunch of whatever. So your mind's not powerful enough to create those things. And once I thought of that, and then a lot of Scooby Doo too, like watching them unmask every single ghost and everything like that. It was kind of pretty funny. Did you actually? Are you fascinated with the show Supernatural?
I really really enjoyed the first maybe like 2 seasons of Supernatural, but for me, once it started getting a little too much into the
Spiritual
like the
side.
big yeah, this big spiritual, apocalypse and fucking all that shit. It kind of lost me.
Yeah, for sure. It
But
definitely
I mean,
played a toll on me.
it went for so long. It was over 10 seasons, right?
No, they're still going. It's season 14.
They're still going. Holy shit.
Dude, I binge watched that my whole summer. It's 45-minute episodes, and there's like 20 episodes a season, and there's 14
Wow.
seasons, so it lasts so long. But like, it's gotten weird. I mean, it's obviously you can tell it's like it's coming to an end soon. It's much like
Yeah.
Walking Dead. It's like at one point you just realize they're doing the same shit over and over again. Um,
Right.
I mean, it's a really good show. I think one of the season 13 they had out, did a Scooby Doo matchup where actually they got sucked into the Scooby Doo cartoon. So it's like the creators of Scooby Doo worked with Supernatural to do this. And
That's amazing.
what's really cool was it showed the aspect, like we were talking about, like my fascination, like Scooby Doo. You're unmasking something and it turns out it's a person behind it. There are no such things as ghosts and all this type of stuff. Well, in the Supernatural mix up, Fred or whatever goes to take the mask off one of the ghosts and rips the ghost's head off. And it's like there was no mask; it was an actual monster. And he's like, "Oh my god, monsters are real this whole time!" And then like they're all coming like, "There's no fucking way, man!" Like Shaggy's like, it's the real actor for Shaggy's like, my life's a lie. He goes, everything's bullshit. And I'm like, oh my god, you're just watching your freaking childhood heroes just immediately crumble. And like they talk
Yeah.
about it in the show. The guys, Dean and Sam are their names. He's like,
Yep.
we can't just leave them like this. Like they're all broken up. We have to make them believe that monsters are all people again. So they had to like kind of set it up in a way and then totally hide them from the truth. But it was like so funny to watch everyone like just immediately just start going into shambles when you find out monsters are real.
Oh, that's incredible.
Because when it comes to AMC, that is probably around the best time for AMC is October, dude, when that Fear Fest comes on. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about Michael Myers and all that stuff. Like, I find it really weird because I was pretty sure they chopped his head off, but then apparently he came back or something. And I was like, okay, how long are we going to run with this? Is it going to turn into Fast and Furious, where we're probably going to see Fast and Furious 32?
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah. I mean, we're at 10, I think 10 Halloween movies, and they just announced 2 more.
Oh my God! Sometimes you just gotta let something end. I mean, one of the
Yeah.
best. My all-time favorite. You said your all-time favorite movie was Scream. Who is your all-time favorite serial, like one of those killers?
Oh shit. That's not gonna be Ghostface, because actually, the Ghostface murderers in the Scream movies, it's like a different person every movie. It's actually not that great of a character. So my favorite of like the slasher villains is definitely Freddy Krueger, and it's because he's probably not the most frightening because he's the most unrealistic, but I actually like the kind of campiness and the cheesiness he brings, and I love the fact that like he's not just gonna like fucking kill you; he's gonna make fun of you while he does it, and that's just really entertaining.
I think one of my favorite is probably Jason.
Yeah,
I like Jason Voorhees. I like his story though. Like he was like a kind of deformed kid that a bunch of people just drowned him at a summer camp, and
yeah.
that's so fascinating because it creates like I guess a thing of realistic experience. You know, people get bullied, and usually it's the bullied kid you want to watch out for. He's more likely to
Oh
go to
yeah,
one.
absolutely. A movie like Friday the 13th is 100% like the nerd's revenge story. I mean, I was kind of like a kind of more of an outcast in high school and stuff. I wasn't really a jock, and I wasn't really smart because I just didn't apply myself. So I hung out with a lot of like the stoner kids, even though at that point I had to go to church, so I wasn't allowed to be a stoner. But I hung out with the stoner kids, and we played music. And then it was like this weird thing where like the skater kids didn't like the kids who played guitar, and so like it was this weird thing. But I always felt like I was an outsider. So you watch something like Friday the 13th, where like, yeah, the hot girl gets murdered. The girl who would never pay attention to you gets her head cut off. The guy who's a total douchebag and is on the football team gets a harpoon through his skull. Like it's the ultimate like revenge story, and there's something really satisfying about that.
I thought one thing that really made the whole horror series like interest to me was the scary movies that came out.
Oh yeah.
Dude, when they made fun of those regular, like I saw that before I saw Scream. So then when I saw Scream, it was like I was immediately already not scared. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
I what that like that on the phone. Like when I saw that scene and the mask changed of Scream, he had the tongue sticking out in the stoner.
Yep. Oh yeah, I definitely had that mask whenever that movie came out for sure.
It was nuts because like there's been so many good ones. I definitely like the clash ups they do too. Like when you're looking at like a good one, let's say like Freddy versus Jason.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
that's interesting story. I definitely think the last Nightmare on Elm Street they had was really, really good. A lot of people gave it a lot of shit, but I thought it was actually pretty good.
You know what? I only watched it once because I was a pretty big fan of the series, but I went and I watched it in theaters, and I remember leaving after seeing it in theaters and being like, "Hey, that was pretty good." I mean, the one big change to his character that pissed a lot of people off that I wasn't that passionate back then. I don't think anyone was that passionate back then because like I mean, the internet was a thing, but like social media wasn't the monster that it is today. And I think that movie came out in 2009. And like just like trolling and just like Twitter exploding with negative feedback and stuff, that didn't quite happen as hard. Like people just didn't hate on shit as much as they do today. So I remember leaving and being like, "Oh, that movie wasn't that bad." And then as time has gone on, like everyone just trashes it. And I was like, oh, I guess that movie was bad. I'm not supposed to like it.
Well, plus, back in the day, you had like the world was so much more simple. I think. I mean, the whole fact
Yeah.
was you also knew not to take a ride from stranger, but now you're gonna order a damn stranger to your house to give them a 5-star rating. Hashtag Uber. And also, he delivers your food. Like, if I told my grandparents I was gonna do Uber Eats and have this guy I've never met deliver food to my house, the first thing they would say is, "Are you fucking insane? They're gonna poison
Oh,
you."
yeah.
Because that's what happened back in the day. You couldn't trust people. Now people are just
Absolutely.
unblindingly putting their faith in somebody else. How do you know
Oh,
if you
no, man,
hop
for
in that
sure.
Uber? Didn't they tell you not to hop in cars with strangers, and especially if they offer you candy? Now you hop in their car, they give you candy, and
They
you
always have candy.
always Twizzlers, jelly beans, whatever the hell you want.
It's so true. It's gotten to a point where like parents feel more safe paying for their kid to get an Uber than, teaching them how to drive. Like it's safer if you just get in a car with a stranger and have them drive you everywhere rather than you learn to drive yourself.
You
Because
know
if you learn to drive
how
yourself, you're probably going to wreck.
you know how easy it is to just buy a sticker that says Uber, put it on your car, and just start kidnapping people?
Oh man. Yeah.
I'm
It
not
does happen.
saying I do it, but if I had a day off, I want to kind of test this theory out about how many people I can pick up and just drop them off in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah. I mean, you hear those horror stories for sure. That's totally a thing.
And back in the day, they used to avoid from picking up like hitchhikers and stuff, and now people are like, "This guy could be a millionaire," and they pull over to go pick him up. Next thing you know, Jim's been missing for 6 days.
Oof. I mean, I really try to be uh I guess a good Samaritan and just like a good person and do things like that. But I will honestly say I don't think I have ever just picked up like a hitchhiker. Like I don't know. There's something about that that just I still don't trust it, and it probably makes me sound like an asshole, but it's
Well,
the
dude,
truth.
let me tell you something. I had to walk like 8 miles to my house, and it took me a good bit. But like, I'm hitchhiking, dude. Not only 8 miles is way under rational. It took me 3 hours to get home. It was a long walk. I
Oh
walked.
yeah, that's a long way.
I walked from like West Ocean City all the way into Ocean Pines, which is like, that's like 20 something miles, dude. So
Yeah,
I
for
walked
sure.
that, and then I got caught in the rain halfway. And I'm like hitchhiking, and then I found out like once I got home that there's a law saying that you can't pick up hitchhikers anymore. And I'm like,
Oh.
damn, like when did we lose faith in humanity? Like I'm not a sketchy individual. I was a kid. I mean, I'm still technically a kid in some aspects. I look like a child if I didn't keep my little bit of chin hair I had. But like I'm walking, I seem like a good guy. I'm like just walking, thumb out, like kind of hitchhiking it. I don't have the bindle, the little bum sack on my back or anything, but I'm just
Right.
walking with my car keys in my hand and nobody. I live in an old community too. You think some of those people would have stopped by and picked me up and just
Yeah,
talked
that's
to me.
wild.
I was just like, you guys care more about your lawn than me. Fuck you. And they just kept on driving by. I like, dude, it's fun.
That's what I'm saying though. Like that, I probably would have done the same thing, and I feel like shit because of that. Like I need to give more people rides. Like I feel like an asshole.
Look, I have stopped and I've seen a weird guy before and I have picked him up and I've given him a ride. I also have, like, I go to this Food Line all the time. It's like, I don't know if you know what a Food Line is, a grocery store.
Oh, I grew up in Virginia. I know me some Food Line.
All right, right on. Well, like I picked up this woman that I saw walking from Food Line at 2 o'clock in the morning. You could tell she just got off her shift, and I guess her ride bailed on her. Picked her up and drove her to her house. I had no idea where she lived. I just drove. She lived kind of like a good bit away from me, but I didn't
Yeah,
care. She said, "I'll pay you for gas." I said, "Don't worry about it." Like, there's some things you can do just to help out a little bit too. I mean,
for
not
sure.
everybody's gonna slice you up or anything like that.
Right. Actually, I guess now that I think about it, I am married, and my wife has done some of those things. Like we're driving somewhere, and like we're at a gas station, and like she like hears some chick on her phone outside that's like, trying to get her ride, and like obviously their ride's not coming or not coming for a while or something like that, and like we've done that. We've helped people that way. I guess maybe whenever it's like a female with a female, like I don't know. I guess I just maybe that's my problem, is I just get too afraid of something looking like something that it's not, and I just
You're
keep
talking about
myself from getting involved.
like obviously you don't want to pick up a transvestite. I mean, things.
No, 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 no,
Ah,
not like
you
that.
said something that looks different than
Just
what it is. I'm like, a transvestite?
just like like if there's some girl that's like, oh, looking for a ride, and then like, yeah, I mean, I guess you haven't really seen me, you just saw me on Facebook. I show up with my big ass fucking fat ass dude with a beard, like, oh, I'll give you a ride, where you going, baby? Like, I just
Dude,
don't want it to
honestly,
come off like that.
honestly, not to come off as like man crush or anything, but you look like a teddy bear. To be 100% honest with you. Like
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
you have such a
Whenever
comfortable personality. Like you have a smile on your face in this picture. So it's like, I don't mean to be stalking you on your Facebook, but it's like you seem like a comfortable guy. I've heard some of your podcasts. I mean, you sound like you're very, very like comedic in the way you talk, which makes it really, really interesting. How did you decide to focus in on just horror movies?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I made it clear that I love them first of
Yeah,
all,
but
and
like it's such a weird though, because like I've listened to some of your episodes. The one I was really fascinated with, you were talking about Freddy and Midnight, I think was called something, disorient this something. I
oh
forgot.
yeah, Midnight Social Distortion. His name's Mark. He has a blog called Midnight Social Distortion. Fucking awesome dude.
But like I'm listening to a lot of stuff, like, the big thing that happened a couple of years ago, the scary clown thing, the whole people
Oh
dressing up as
yeah.
clowns and killing people, and then people were like, uh, that goes into my mind where I'm trying to figure out, is this a joke or is this an
Mm-hmm.
actual, like, a group of insane people that are dressing up as clowns, and just like, because it started off on a Facebook thing, people were doing it as a joke. Then there were people
Right.
putting up Facebook videos like, what the hell is this person doing? And he's like in a clown costume. It's like, when does the joke go a little too far?
That's so true, and I don't some of that stuff. It's that danger of the future and the quote unquote fake news. I know that you know Trump has made that popular. I'm not trying to give him credit for it or anything like that, but he's definitely made that phrase something that we use a lot. And yeah, I think that it is kind of that is what's scary, is that it is getting to a place where like the joke might become reality, but then maybe even that reality that we thought was reality is really a joke. Because one of the big stories, it was BuzzFeed or fucking somebody, whenever all that clown stuff was going around, there were some fake articles, like from quote unquote news channel websites, that were saying that was happening in our city, in Fort Wayne. Like, and so I get on like the actual Fort Wayne local shit, and I'm like looking up, like, because you can always find like the police like files, like people who were arrested this week and stuff, and why, and like all that shit online. And I'm like, fucking, this clown thing didn't happen. But then you go on BuzzFeed and there's this huge article about clowns in Fort Wayne that are murdering people, and I'm like, what the? It didn't fucking happen. I live here. Like, it's not real.
It's
This
fake
is
news.
nuts.
I think
It's
it's
fake news.
I think it's funny. Like I really like seeing the progression, a little bit of history. When it comes to the just horror movies in general, I like to see the old shit. Like I really do like to see like
Yes.
very first old movies that came out, and then I like seeing where we are now. I think one of my favorite movies that I guess you wouldn't really consider the average horror movie, but I still find it to be as scary as hell show or not show movie, Jaws.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
People see you
I
see
mean, that movie, yeah, that movie literally was like, as far as what we know as like a modern blockbuster scary movie, like that was it.
Yeah, but see, you
Have
say scary movie though, they don't think
Yeah,
scary movie because it involves a shark, and it's like that's realistic though. It's like, yeah, but so is the other thing. It's just it's not set up in a guy killing a person. That's what's considered a
absolutely.
horror film.
No, I totally consider Jaws a horror movie personally, and I mean it made the entire country. The U.S. is afraid of sharks because of Jaws.
Even though
If we didn't,
coconuts
if
kill more sharks per year than sharks do.
yeah, no, like if Jaws wasn't the incredible blockbuster that it was, because it was a blockbuster before the term blockbuster even existed. Like they thought it was going to be terrible, and freaking Spielberg is like in his car, and they're like, "Hey, you just want to go drive by and take a look at the theater?" And they go to drive by the theater, and the reason why they came up with the word blockbuster is because when everyone went to see Jaws, they literally lined up all the way around the block of the theater, and there was no more room to line up because they went in a whole circle around the block. And like because of that, we have Shark Week. Fucking Discovery Channel would have never sought out Shark Week if Jaws wasn't the phenomenon that it was.
I mean,
Other countries aren't scared of sharks the way that we are.
my ringtone for the longest time was the damn song they were singing when they were drunk on the boat. I got look for a while. AMC played Jaws over and over and over and ran you through the freaking washer with that shit. I
Oh
literally
yeah.
come home like from work or something. I think it was the summer of my senior year, so I was just doing jet skis constantly. And as soon as I would get home, it was Jaws, the same freaking Jaws. It wasn't Jaws 2, it wasn't Jaws 3, it was just
Oh
Jaws.
man.
And I
Jaws.
sat there with a bag of goldfish, and I was literally sending snaps at 1 o'clock in the morning to my buddy while he was trying to sleep before he went to work, of like me holding up the goldfish and like pausing the TV when it was right when the shark's mouth was open, so it looked like he was eating the goldfish. And
Yes.
those movies were the best. I mean, the fact like that song, "Show me the way to go home. I'm
Yeah.
tired and I want to go to bed." And then like that whole thing, that's what fascinates me about older movies, because they didn't focus on what a lot of newer movies too like focus on now, which you can probably shed a little light on this: jump scares. Like old
Yeah.
school movies did
Yep.
not focus as much on the jump scare. They focused on creating a story, like something where you knew what was going to
Absolutely.
happen, but you weren't 100% sure. Now, when I go into the movies and I'm trying to watch a new movie, like a horror film or something, I'm like, all right, it's going to either focus on demons, some clown bullshit, or some other type of thing that I'm literally sitting there like, he's going to get stabbed when he walked around this corner. Oh, he got stabbed when he walked around the corner. I end up want to be the person that's screaming in the movie theater, like, don't go in there. Don't do it.
Right.
Yeah, he's gonna go in there. Watch. Oh, see, I told you he was gonna go in there.
Hey, on that note, what how do you feel about talking during a movie? Maybe not if it's like a huge, like super serious movie, but something like that, like a kind of cheesy horror movie, and you have the classic, "Oh, don't go in there, bitch." Like, what do you think about that?
I think it's a way for people to try and do comedy. I think it's the same reason why people try and heckle, because they think it's gonna be
Mm,
funny. Like, you think someone in the crowd that heckles a comedian is they think that what they say is really important, and they rather ruin the person's art than just sitting there and just holding it to themselves. They're trying to get a little piece of the spotlight. I think it's the
Right.
same thing with a movie theater. The whole fact someone's saying it out loud or something, I don't see it as them being so scared that they have to kind of reassure themselves that they're not going to be murdered themselves. I always chalk it up to the scary movie thing where the girl's shouting at the movie theater and then she just starts getting stabbed and then everybody's like stabbing her as she's going up
Yeah.
to the screen and dying. I'm like, nobody really wants to go there and hear you talk and scream at a movie. But the whole fact is, nowadays, kids on their phones, they just dim the brightness down instead of turning it off and just sit there and
Yeah.
Snapchat while you're watching a movie. Like, I could still see your screen light up, bitch. Put the phone away. Like, I'm a
Now, see,
really
I don't like someone like snapping like during a movie. I don't think I like that. But I actually really enjoy whenever you have a situation where like people are interacting with the movie in a way. Now, if it was like something really serious and like that I really needed to pay attention to, I don't know, for example, like maybe something like The Exorcist. I don't want to make fun of something like that while the film is happening. But if I'm watching, a Freddy Krueger, like a Nightmare on Elm Street type movie, like, or even Friday the 13th, where like the dialogue and the story really doesn't fucking matter. Like we're here for the experience. I want to be with loud people in the theater. And I think that a lot of people think that makes me really weird.
I think like I might come off as kind of like I seem like probably I'm a dick in public. I'm really not. I'm really so passive, but I always try and go for the laughter a little bit. So like when I'm
Yeah.
watching a movie and I'm watching a horror movie, I remember one time we're in the theaters, my buddy, I think it was when it was The Purge or something. I
Oh
guess
yeah.
consider that a horror movie, but it was more like Psycho Killer, so it kind of made it seem even scarier because that could actually be a thing. Like
Oh yeah, for
people
sure.
are savages. But like we're sitting in the theater and it's like real quiet and like it's like this scary scene. A bunch of people are inside the house and stuff, and like someone pops around the corner. It's a jump scare, and my buddy grabs me, like kind of scared, like grabs me, and I just inadvertently scream, "You're a grown ass man!" Like really freaking loud. And like I heard so many people laugh and my buddy was laughing and I was like, those are the types of moments I'll enjoy in a movie theater.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if
Yeah, me too.
someone's
Me too.
just sitting there literally going, "Oh my God, this is so underproduced." But I always look at
Oh yeah, that's bullshit.
the Key and Peele episode where they're like, that actor doesn't even have a good essential standing or background into the film. And like they're quoting all this stuff and the guy's like, I wish they would just shut up. And the one dude's like, but they're making really good points. Like, yeah. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I remember that episode.
that was so funny though, because it's so true. Because like that can happen. Like if that happened to a movie theater that I was in, and some dude was just pointing out flaws in the movie, I'd be like, he's making good points. Like he's being right. Like you kind of want to keep supporting the guy, even though you really want him to shut up. But
Right. Yeah, I actually have found we have three kind of major theaters in Fort Wayne, and I've kind of discovered the one where I guess most people would probably say it's the trashier one because there's like louder people there, but that is the one I actually prefer to go to, and because we have like a really really nice one. So let me tell you the story real quick. I'll try to make it quick. Fucking, I have discovered that basically everyone in the world likes Star Wars way more than I do. And like I liked Star Wars just fine. Like watched it growing up, watched, the prequels, all that shit came out when I was a kid and like yeah, like I'm down for that. That's great. And then they came out with the new one, the what was it? Force Awakens or whatever.
look, I don't
And
like any of the new Star Wars. So
okay. So there's a wonderful Mexican restaurant that I frequent right next to the really nice theater in town. And every Friday they have super cheap margaritas. So we go there quite often, me and my friends, and drink margaritas and then go to the movie theater. And so yes, I may have been just ever so slightly drunk when I went to see the premiere of Force Awakens, but this guy sitting next to me was just so pissed that I would say anything or make any sounds. Like he shushed me. I was shushed for like whispering to my best friend who was sitting next to me about the movie and about how exciting it was. Cause like We hadn't have a Star Wars movie in forever. Like, this is exciting, and I'm kind of drunk, so like this is fun. And I was probably louder than I thought I was because I was kind of drunk. But this guy just kept fucking shushing me. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm never watching Star Wars on opening night ever again because I actually don't like it. I don't like it.
I only like Star Wars more than Star Trek. I'm not a super huge Star Wars nerd. I definitely think the older ones were a lot better. I haven't seen any of the newer ones just because after like 5 minutes, I'm like, I can't follow this story anymore.
Yeah.
But like as much as like I'm kind of joking and I'm kind of not on the fact that every time I kind of stopped going to movie theaters now, only on the concept of every time I go, there's always a crying baby. Every single time.
See, that's never happened to me. I hear people talk about that all the time. It has
I
never happened to me
I
once.
can't do it anymore. I can't.
So weird.
I'm not.
Who's fucking taking their babies to the movie theater? God,
A lot of people.
the hell's wrong with them?
I don't know. Let me tell you something. It's a little weird. What really gets me is like my buddy's like, hey, you want to go to this movie on this day? I'm like, I'm more of like just let me know that day and I'll see how I'm feeling, that type of thing. And he's like, well, I
Sure.
want to pre-order our ticket. So I'm like, why? Why don't you
Yeah, it's
show
so
up
fucking annoying.
like back in the day when you had to get there either on time, and if you got there late, you had to pray to God you weren't sitting up front to where the point where you just had to stare at the middle of the screen and hopefully something flew by that you would catch with your eyes. Because when you're that close to the front of the screen, you're trying to like pay attention to everything. Your eyes, your whole head's turning left and right and left and right, and you end up leaving the movie with whiplash.
Oh yeah. See, that's that's why I actually like going to the kind of quote unquote trashier theater in our city, because the nice one, they have like the recliner and everything, and like that's really bitchin', but it's like assigned seating, like you select your seat when you buy your ticket. And I'm like, no, fuck that shit. Like, you don't get to get the best seat because you bought your ticket 2 weeks ago. Like, no, you show up early like everybody else, and it's first come, first serve.
Right, yeah, reserved seating is a thing. So what irks you besides that about movie theaters? Do you even go to experience movie theaters anymore? I haven't done it in such a long time. I think the last
Man,
time I did it, I accidentally. This is one thing that gets me. Every place should have a designed way the bathrooms are. Okay? There should be one side that is women, whatever. I don't care about all gender restrooms. I'm for that. Go for it.
yeah, whatever.
But if you have a registered thing that says women on the left, men on the right, please make that everywhere. I'm leaving the theater after not peeing in like 3 hours. I go and I went into the women's bathroom and I walked up. I was like, why is every single thing a stall and there's a lot of women in here? I'm in the women's bathroom. I'm so sorry. And I walked right back out. My buddy just looks at me and everybody's just laughing. And I'm just like,
Oh
I
man.
just walked to the guy's bathroom pissed and I walked out. He's like, dude, you just walked to the girl's bathroom. I was like, yeah, I know. It was so uncomfortable. I was like, hey, we're all in here together. And I had to walk out.
Yeah, so I've probably watched more movies in the theater this year than I have in a really long time, and that's mostly just because of the podcast. Not that we review any of the movies that we see in theaters, but I just feel like,
You get more
you
of an
know,
impact from a movie theater.
yeah, and I just feel like to be able to kind of stay in the know of everyone on like Instagram and the horror community of like new movies that are coming out and stuff like that. So I've probably watched 4 or 5 just this year, which is very rare for me because I actually have a projector in my house, a projector surround sound. It's not fucking super bitchin' or anything. I don't make a lot of money. It's, fairly cheap just because I know a lot about live production and how to put that shit together. So I'm able to set it up fairly inexpensively. So I have that at home. So it's like, like, do I really want to go, pay $13 for this plus, a fucking $8 Coke and a $10 bucket of popcorn? Or I can just wait until that shows up on like Vudu, rent it for $3 and just watch it on my couch still on a big screen.
I also think it's probably easier just to get it on your phone in those illegal ways too.
That's also true. I do not do that. I will say I
Uh,
don't do that.
yeah,
I've had seasons of my life. Where I did that, but I've been trying to be better about supporting creatives as I get older in life. That becomes something that's a little more important. I'm 29 now, so I'm getting old as fuck, and I create things, and I hope that people will pay for the things that I create someday, so I'm going to pay for the things that other people create. Now, if it's something totally fucking bullshit, like a Disney property or fucking like Avengers Endgame, they don't need my money. They have plenty. I'm not fucking worried about that, so I'll pirate the fuck out of
I try and save a lot of my money if it's like a produced thing, like a guy like not really big name is doing something. I'll be more
that.
than
Right.
happy to go pay a ticket for. But when you're charging me $8 for a popcorn, a small popcorn, yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
gonna
rough.
like, can I get a sample? And they give me like a small cup. Can I get another sample? Keep
Oh,
on.
I'm definitely sneaking snacks in. That's
The guys
definitely
that
happening.
work there do that too. I've talked to people.
Oh
I
yeah.
podcast with people that work at movie theaters, and like we do it all the time. My buddy works at a movie theater, and he literally on my days off, he's like, "Just come by in the morning when we open up, and I'll come watch this movie, and then you could just keep going into different movies if you want." And I'm like, "I'm okay." He's like, "You don't want to go experience a movie?" I'm like, "I. It's not that I don't want to. It's just I have other things on my plate, to be honest with you." I
Yeah,
haven't we don't really have time to actually go and sit and enjoy a movie anymore. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times the world's so
that's true.
fast paced now. That's why movie theaters have to make it so much like home as possible because people want to be so comfortable. The reason why movie theaters had character back in the day was because there was that beautiful little blinking or that line of lights going into your seat area. And when you
Yes.
saw that, it seemed like you're going into like some Star Wars dimension type thing and
Yes.
it's a hyperdrive, whatever, Marty McFly. And you saw like a lot of my moments, scary moments throughout my childhood. I remember I saw I Am Legend in
Yeah, yeah,
theaters
yeah.
when it first came out. I was probably like 14 when it came out. Yo, I saw that in theaters. All right, I was a little bit scared at that. Watched it with my that night. We were at my grandparents' house. I was just starting kind of staying there over the summers and work. So I wasn't like, it's like kind of when you're like staying somewhere like a new friend's house, you're kind of getting a little bit like
Yeah.
kind of getting the little vibe a little bit. Well, they lived down on this farm area and it was the nighttime around the time we got home and we had this older Dalmatian and he fell down the steps. So he couldn't get up. He couldn't use his legs. So we had to take him to the vet.
Damn.
Yeah, so hold on, you can keep. I'm gonna keep playing the sad song real quick, But like he fell down the steps, and my grandpa's like, "Watch him while I go get some things to take him to the vet." So he called my grandma. Ended up being on a 30-minute conversation. It's 9 o'clock at night. It's dark out. I'm by a dim light. I just saw I Am Legend, and they want me to keep this dog on the ground while I'm already hearing voices and shit from the woods that are right next to their house. Immediately, I start thinking it's I Am Legend. Everybody's dead. I'm gonna die. There's gonna be a bunch of zombies come out, and immediately I said, "Screw this dog." I ended,
Oh no.
I ended up staying there because then I ended up turning into like Will Smith when his dog got bit, and
Yeah.
he was kind of sitting there like trying to like protect himself, and the dog saved his life. I was like, I know if a zombie comes out of the woods right now, you're gonna save my life, even though
That's
your
right.
legs don't work. It doesn't matter. I can run faster than you at this point. But like that scared me. But like it's moments like those, especially when you're a kid, when you see a scary movie, dude, the impact it has on you, you don't see that a whole lot nowadays. Kids are just they're half paying attention. Even when you go to the movie theaters, my little cousin, I'll take him to the movies and he'll just sit there on his phone. I'm like, dude, come on. Like we're here
Yeah.
watching this. I watched Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter in theaters with my
Yeah.
grandfather, and my grandfather was like, that actually made me like Abraham Lincoln. I'm like, you fucking, you
Wait, 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 wait.
what?
You didn't like him before?
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, you didn't like him before? He goes, no, that guy wasn't that good. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, that's why I got shot in a theater. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Then he started finding out stuff about Abraham Lincoln you actually didn't know, like the fact that he actually wasn't for abolishing slavery. He actually said if he could keep slaves, he would. He just believed that they should be paid a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do remember hearing some of that stuff. I actually used to work at a used bookstore, and so like you were saying, when you're introducing me to the podcast, like conspiracy theories and stuff like that are open for discussion, and like when you work at a used bookstore, you find all kinds of crazy ass conspiracy books, and then you get all the crazy ass conspiracy people coming in to look for those books,
Are you
and then they
looking
want to
at
tell you
your video?
all about them.
Are you looking at your video screen right now?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, look at your video screen and watch. I'm about to turn on the video. This is a
Uh-huh.
book I picked up from a thrift store. Great
There it is.
American Conspiracies. My mom's like, "Why would you buy that?" I was like, "Because it's 25 cents and I like looking into some weird shit."
Hell yeah.
Dude, I see. All right, if I had asked you one question, if I'd ask you about movie theaters and the movies that are coming out, do you think more people are going to go to movie theaters? Do you think it's going to kind of die off? Because like recently, my neighborhood, or at least in my area, we have a movie theater with a bar now, and that's like the one thing you definitely don't want. You're not allowed to bring drinks into the theater, but you can drink outside
Right.
the theater and then go in once you're done. I see that as a big problem. What do you think about that?
Oh man, you know what? I have a couple thoughts, I guess. I do think that theaters are obviously in danger, but I think the problem is that they're in danger of not making as much money as they used to, and that's why they're afraid. I don't think that they're necessarily in danger of not existing. I just think that the executives and the higher ups, the 1% of the theater business need to get used to getting a smaller paycheck, because I think that as on demand gets more and more popular, as fucking people like me are able to afford I mean, I'm serious. Like, I am not a very rich person whatsoever. I do my house cost me like $70,000. I make probably $30,000 a year. Like, I'm not doing super well as a 29-year-old
I
with
mean,
a
I'm not.
wife and a
Dude,
child.
I'm right there in the same boat, man. It's a difficult. It's you find that everywhere, man. Like I know people that are 50
Yeah, yeah,
that are still doing shit they don't want to do. It's the whole concept of a lot of businesses, a lot of things are hurting only because it's so like watching a movie on your phone is free. It's 1,000 times easier. You're not supposed to do it, but people
right,
do it, and it's only at the concept of like they'll watch it on their phone and then be like, "That movie's okay," and then they go and see it in a whole completely mindset for it, like a theater or something. Whoa, this movie's actually pretty awesome. It's like, yeah, because you were seeing it through a
right.
shitty phone screen at like one
That's so
o'clock in the
true. I
morning.
do agree with that. I agree with that. One of my favorite directors is um oh fuck, what's his name? Lynch. Ah fuck. David Lynch?
I thought you were
I
gonna say
might be
George
making that
Lucas.
up. Not George Lucas. Lynch, who did he did fucking Twin Peaks and Eraserhead and some of that other shit. But anyway, like, one of his big quotes is, if you want to go watch a movie, go watch it on the biggest screen you can, as loud as you possibly can, and that's how you watch movies. And
Oh
I
yeah.
love that statement. I 100% agree.
Dude, I remember some of my best childhood moments. Me and my buddies, we used to have a bunch of friends over by a bonfire, and we set up a projection screen, and we would watch scary movies at night on his farmland. And dude, let me tell you
Hell
something.
yeah, dude. Do you guys have drive-ins over there?
Drive-ins. I wish we had a drive-in movie theater. The only one I've
Damn.
seen it was in Baltimore, and it was a rundown one. And I literally thought if I had $1 million, the first thing I would do is I would bring that place back up. I really hope that
Absolutely.
comes back into society today.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. So I mean, they're still pretty popular here in the Midwest. We actually have three of them that's within driving distance. I mean, 20, 30 miles away. I'm in the city, so you kind of have to get out to the country, where they can have a screen that big. But dude, they're fucking awesome. I love driving movies.
I think it's the whole concept. Like, I mean, nothing's better than just being scared, but the whole thing that goes up into getting scared is also the process and the environment that they create with watching it too. If
Yeah,
you watch it, like I wish it would. I hope it comes back one day. I don't see it happen a lot, and I used to do it all the time. I don't really do it anymore. There are sometimes movie nights with your family or friends. You just got to be able to sit and watch a movie together. I mean, a lot of people don't do that anymore. A lot of people just feel like they're more comfortable watching it in their room. It kind of scares me. Kind of sucks, but at least I'm honest, and I'm glad to know that there's at least people out there like myself that do enjoy a little bit of the old classic scary least flicks a little bit. And I'm glad I got to be able to talk to you on my podcast, man. It's awesome being
yeah,
able to kind of find there's a like I haven't really talked to anybody that does a horror podcast, mostly because of the whole concept of people either because of religious reasons or because they just think everything's just fake and all this stuff. They don't really focus
Right.
on the kind of the awesome horror movies that come around October time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's honestly it was a pleasure. This is the first time anyone's asked me to be on a podcast. I ask other people to be on my podcast all the time. So it was actually really fun to get to meet somebody new and to kind of be on the other side of things for once.
Well, I want to give you a minute here at the end to kind of be able to plug your own podcast so people can find your awesome content, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. So again, my name is James. I do the EEK channel. It's EEKCHANNEL. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the internet places that people do things. And then the easiest way to find the podcast is on whatever your podcast app is. If you just search for EEK or EEK channel, EEK or EEKCHANNEL, you're gonna find our shit. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem, man. And if anytime you guys need a guest or something to come onto your podcast, and maybe if you want to freak me out, go ahead, dude, because I don't get
Oh, dude,
scared.
we'll get it in the books. That sounds great.
I have 5 chest hairs, so I'm pretty manly. I like to also eat a bowl of nails for breakfast without any milk, so
Good.
it's pretty tough as iron.
Nails like fingernails, though, right?
Oh yeah, witches and brews and all those weird, disgusting creatures that we would think about later in life. All right, well, thanks for being on this episode of Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.